Hello, welcome to another episode of the Menswear Style Podcast. I'm your host, Pete Brooker. Today, I am talking to Dario Peluso, who is the founder of PoBO, which is Positive by Ownership. And I'm just going to read a little blurb from the PoBO website about Dario. Hi, I'm Dario. I am the founder of PoBO. I am a shameless creative mind. I used to have a successful career in the city, but I have loved fashion design, music making, and art all my life. My inspiration came from the artists of Group Zero. This was described as a zone of silence and of pure possibilities for a new beginning. I am paraphrasing. There's a longer story on the website, which you can find, by the way, at pobo.uk. But here to talk in depth about PoBO, in his own words, is Dario Peluso.
Well, when we talk about PoBO, we talk about the collection. We don't even describe it anymore because all the friends have been part of this journey, and they know that it's kind of like the synthesis of all the various things that I've done in my life. And I'm not someone who went to fashion school at uni or art school. I come from an economics and financial background. I've always cultivated, my creative interests on the side, basically. So they know that this is like my brainchild, where I put everything. That it comes from me. PoBO is obviously my own creative output, but it's a sustainable at the core apparel brand. And that's something that I take great pride on.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about you first, Dario. Your background coming into this.
Yeah, sure. Basically, I'm Italian. I was born and bred in Naples, in southern Italy, and like many Italians, when you go to school, you actually study humanities and a lot of history of art, which I absolutely loved. And because I learned that art is not just something that is in the museums; is out there to be admired, and then you're done with it. Art is like in people's lives. The artist is someone. It can be political, it can be utilitarian, financial, so many things in history. And that was my first kind of like love with art. But then because I came from one of those families, classic, that you can't make money from creative things. You have to have a proper job. Then I went on, art is not a proper job, which is you have to go to university. So I went and did economics, which was fine. I enjoyed it. But at the same time, I also cultivated, I actually was surrounding myself with people that were really doing economics. They were doing fashion design. They were doing industrial design. And, Milan is a great city for that. I'm sure you know.
Mm-hmm.
So this is I started having, and also one more thing which to throw in the mix. I'm a semi-professional musician, so I've studied piano, and I also I'm an orchestral conductor.
Wow!
So which is something that then I did later, but you see, for me, I've always had to do the right thing, which was study and then work, then finance or whatever, and then do my own sort of creative outlets. This, I worked then in finance for many years. In 2019 was like an interesting year because I had quite a bad freakish accident where I damaged my shoulder, and I had to have an operation. So
what happened? What was the accident?
It was a freak accident at home.
Skiing.
It's so stupid to say it now, but I literally slipped on my sock. I was wearing my socks. I just slipped and had this, like, I felt like a cyclist would fall from a from a bike, so right on the back of the shoulder, and that caused quite a bad damage that I needed an operation. But the funny thing, actually, it's kind of like this thunderstruck moment. I was in hospital the night after the operation, and I was basically tripping on painkillers and medications and whatever I was given. And I watched McQueen, the Alexander McQueen's documentary, where he's filmed, and they show all of his collections and his creative process. And I couldn't sleep, obviously. So I started taking like photos of like the wounds and the body and things like that kind of triggered me starting to create more visual things, not just music that I was doing. And until then, I hadn't been like a very visual arts type of person. So that's kind of where really, if we go back in time, things started. And then I set up like an Instagram account, which I use as like an outlet, like a mood board for things. And a lot of, actually everything that I do somehow comes from there, from my own creative process. But basically 2019 was this year where everything changed. So after that, I started thinking, I've done this job for so many years. Maybe now I want to flip things the other way around. I want to be the creative person that actually earns from it, not just someone who does things on the side. And so towards the end of the year, we started thinking, maybe this is my chance. Sorry, I didn't say that very well. I might just say again a few things if it's okay.
Go for it.
No, so after that event, we had my partner and I had a great trip, a legendary trip to Amsterdam, and we were thinking, but we should do some things actually that have something different with our lives, and just chatting away. And I actually pulled out this bar of chocolate that had, I opened it. It was a fair trade, sustainably sourced chocolate bar, and I would say it said on it, well, congratulations, you've just planted a tree. Now this is early 2019, so the whole sustainability thing was coming up, but you didn't come across so many consumer brands that would do things like that. And I thought, it'd be great to do something like that has an impact on every, it made me feel better, buying something, consuming something, and having an impact. And these were the first things that started our journey.
And so you studied then at Central St. Martin's College. Was that after your career in finance, or did you do that alongside when you were working in the city?
So what happened then is that again in 2019, that was after. But before leaving my job, I took with my partner a startup accelerator in London, which is called Escape the City. And where you learn everything about coming up with ideas and getting validating ideas, minimum MVPs, etc., the whole financials, etc. And we came up with this idea of creating the initial idea was to create the perfect white T-shirt.
Oh yeah.
Which with hindsight, I'm glad I didn't do, because now on the market there are loads of perfect white t-shirts. It's probably
I think I've interviewed about half of
them. You kind of think, oh well, and I'm sure they're all amazing in their own ways, but I thought that by marketing something that was perfect, I would set myself up for failure, basically. But then, I decided to quit my job and pursue that idea at the end of 2019. And that's when I signed up for, Central St. Martin's and London College of Fashion. I took a bunch of courses there. And intensive courses in like fashion design and the collection, building a collection, putting collection in process, and things like that. And some were quite practical, involving sewing and building garments. And
did you learn pattern making as well?
A little bit of that. Bit of that. It was more, to understand what it means. And so that you're able to talk to people who are the experts.
Talk about fabric manipulation.
Talk about fabric. Talk about the stitches. Talk about anything that you need to. You can always ask. You will always have their expertise, but the better you communicate with them, the better product, and the quicker you get you to your results. And yeah.
So were you doing this as well as working, or were you kind of making a leap of faith and going back and hitting?
That was a leap of faith, because so I left in end of 2019, and then I started taking these courses, and it was a bit also for me to kind of understand, do I like this? Can I do it? To get more confident. Am I creative enough for this, or am I, am I up for it? I wanted to immerse myself in it, and this is actually until maybe March, which is when then COVID hit, and things took a different turn in terms of the project. The idea, has slowed down, because in the initial plan was to work together with my partner. So he'd be working full time. He's a doctor. So when the pandemic hit, he got completely taken away. And so I had to do a lot of things by myself. And so while I was doing still a lot of research on suppliers, I then decided, you know what? I can't really action this properly now, so I'm just going to work creatively. And I tried to actually have like an MVP, like my very first version of the brand, which actually was called the Zero T, which I had to completely cancel due to copyright. I can tell you that story as well. But basically, that was the first sort of, I thought, okay, I'm just going to sell my own prints, my own graphics on prints made by others. And I'm going to call it Zero T. And it was okay. I wasn't hugely happy with the product because, it was something done quickly. And I even used a print on demand, because I literally wanted to test it. And so it transpired that people really liked the prints, luckily for my own ego. But then they weren't really happy with the price point and the quality. It was organic. It was all well made, but it wasn't like the quality that people were expecting.
So the price point. So what was
price point?
What was the IP infringement then? Was it a collage of different logos? What was the?
No, what happened there is that you see, this is the entrepreneur learning curve. Obviously, I didn't have the funds to talk to lawyers, IP lawyers, and so I just tried to learn things by myself. I went on the IPO, the Intellectual Property Office, and I searched it. I saw. I wanted to call the brand Zero, which also has a nice story, but that's maybe for another time. But Zero, which anyway evokes the whole zero plastic, zero carbon neutrality, etc. But anyway, I saw that there was a company owning that IP, Zero. So I called it Zero T. And I thought, well, that's fine. However, then as I submitted, the IPO told me immediately, look, we are now rejecting it, but someone owned Zero, and T doesn't mean anything because it means T-shirt. So it's like, doesn't qualify, doesn't make your name unique. There I have a couple of months later, this giant listed European company that sends me these legal threats to take down the name immediately, or not to take down, but not to use it anyway. And there was that. And I did get a little bit attached to the initial idea. So that actually turned out to be a good thing, because that's how we then started PoBO, which was our very initial name for the brand.
Let's talk about PoBO.
Yeah.
Tell me about the inspirations behind the designs.
Well, the inspiration behind the designs obviously comes from me. I tend to, when I travel, or when I just walk around London or any other cities when I'm allowed to travel, obviously, and I take photos and then I work with those photos, and usually they come somehow from life, from my life. So that's the kind of unique. That's the uniqueness of them. The inspiration really is maybe from research that I've done. For example, I've done. I go into the British Library archive, and I take books and take the prints, and then take some shapes out of them, and that's how something comes out. Because sparks, whether it's an intellectual interest or because I've lived, or there's something, if you see one of the prints or the embroideries rather is a heart, and that heart comes from a photo that I took in Naples when I went back there the last time, and then they became somehow, it was just a photo, and then I made it into an embroidery. So that's really, the inspiration comes from life, and a lot of it actually, because in 2020 we were living in East London. It kind of came up to me, the inspiration to use my own photos, my own life for the prints or for the designs, for the shapes. Came from the street art, that it's everywhere. This idea, always a little bit avant-garde, of not having art or up on a wall in a room. It's part of life, So the idea of putting it on clothes for me is always it's one of the elements that is more inspiring and appealing.
And where are the garments made, Dario?
So the garments, the journey of cotton is, in our case, organic cotton is a very, very long journey. Our cotton is a GOTS certified, and comes from India. And in India we have we have these amazing suppliers. They have they trace all they are tracing actually all the farmers that grow cotton, and then the ginning and the whole processing of the cotton still done between India. Then it's taken into Bangladesh, where there's the spinning, and then the knitting of the cotton, and then the garments are made unfinished, and then they are sent to Europe. And then from Europe, in Belgium, they come to the UK, and we work on them, we finish them, we put our own stamp on it, like the final stamp. I have the
price tag.
The price tag. I have an amazing studio that helps me with embroideries, and they're in Somerset, and they are also super aligned with the whole sustainable ethos. They only use sustainable inks.
Dario,
they don't use any. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, the line just went a bit choppy there. So you're just talking about your embroideries in Somerset. Pick up from there.
Yeah, we have this amazing studio in Somerset. These guys, they help with the embroideries and the prints, and they're completely aligned with us in terms of the sustainability principles. And so they only actually work with sustainable inks, and even the embroideries that we use are natural. A lot of the time, the classic way of making an embroidery is through a synthetic fiber, and we use this rayon, which is made out of wood pulp, basically. And so the journey is very long, but we have these amazing suppliers that are super strict in terms of the credentials, and their certifications are the most stringent. And for our start of our journey, I think they're absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and so what I kind of asked this with every brand now, but you might have already answered it within some of the previous questions. But what is your main ethos and sustainability pledge within the brand, would you say, when people ask you that?
Well, so PoBO is a bit of a play on words and stands for positive by ownership, and that is a bit playing about owning your life, owning your positivity, owning your positive impact. And we want to do that for people. So as a business, we want to try to make something, and it's important to say try, because you can't be perfect. You can't be perfectly sustainable, you see. So one thing is that we want to try and make something good at every step, with every partnership, and look at every single detail of what we do and make sure that we're using recycled material, compostable material, but also we want to make people feel good about buying, not guilty, which is
like you did when you opened that chocolate bar that time.
Exactly. That was the inspiration. See, everything comes together.
Yeah,
exactly that. So when you're buying from, this is a little bit of the problem with many, with the sustainability world in fashion, is that it's a bit negative. Ultimately, it says a lot about, obviously, the impact of fast fashion, of the giants, of the pollution. But then when you're doing something good, people need to feel it.
Yeah.
And so, there is the fact that I can show my customer where things are made and tell them about all the initiatives, the certifications, but themselves, they are planting the tree. I stole that idea. And, every time you buy, there's at least one mangrove tree planted, and there's other initiatives to support disadvantaged communities. And, this is really important, but we want them basically to feel like they are, there's like a chain of goods, attached to their purchase and to our supply chain. So I think this is but ultimately, as a sustainable company, you want to take this holistic approach. And of course, we aim at being super precise, but you want to kind of change people's pattern of, behavioral patterns around buying. So, you want to buy that jumper that in 20, 30 years you still have. I've got this really old jumper that I think is I don't even know. It was bought in a charity shop, so it was already really old. So maybe it's from the 90s that a friend of mine lent me, and I still have it. And it's just like a very basic Nike a jumper. But, I have had it for 20 years. There's that kind of idea that, those clothes that maybe your father, your mother wore, and then you can wear.
Well, Dario, this is what I tell my girlfriend all the time when she wants to throw out my socks. I'm like, sweetheart, I wore these on about a dozen different construction sites during my 20s. I know that they look like hell, and they've looked like they've had every spaghetti sauce and fag butt dipped out in it. But, it's a nice pledge to sustainability to keep these socks going. You just can't see this.
No, but it's true. That's the other thing that I thought. Do you remember the very first iPod that came out? The idea that you had this little brick that was so cool, was so amazing to hold, and you didn't know why, because it was really the first time that such thing really was done by Apple. Now we are used to it. Now we're used to the nice blingy, objects and the newness. But it was like there was something about the weight, the quality that made you want it and hold it. You see, and I think you can do that. We used to do that with clothes. I think we've been, our mindset has shifted as consumers. That it looks a little bit. It's out of fashion, or the color is now. You see, that can change. So we've started from things that are quite, but they're gender neutral, but they're also quite neutral in terms of season. A nice hoodie can go across seasons. It doesn't go out of fashion next year. You can still wear it, and if it's got an amazing embroidery on it, well, you keep it. It's not going to be the one thing that you're just going to throw out and or put it to charity,
Well, absolutely. And people can check out all of the wonderful designs at pobo.co.uk. Dario, thanks for jumping on the show. Are you planning on any bricks and mortar? What have you got planned for the rest of the year?
Yeah, we're focusing for 2022 on growth. So we are planning more pop-ups, and we're planning more markets. We're going to do like kind of a guerrilla marketing type of thing, where we're just going to put our products in front of people. So there's going to be a bit of that brick and mortar. We are expanding on online marketplaces. We've just been signed up for Wolf and Badger, which is great. And we're going to do more of those. So yeah, that's growth. And then obviously I'm still experimenting with designs, and it's going to be new collections coming up. So for everyone, just to keep an eye on our website, on the news and our social media. And
where do you hang out on social media? What do you like to do? Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, we do Instagram. There's PoBO UK.
Cool.
It's our main outlet, really, and Facebook, of course, but that comes as a second, derivation from Instagram, really. And
are you the face behind it, so to speak? If people reach out to you on Instagram, they'll get through to you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I'll go. They get through to me, or anyone who wants, to know anything, get in touch. It's also our email, hello@pobo.uk.
Awesome. Well, excellent, mate. Thanks so much for jumping on. Great talking to you. And next time you're either West London or Central, give me a shout and we'll do some coffee. I'll look up and have a look at the designs.
Pete, thank you very much for inviting me.
All right, Dario. Take care of yourself. Have a good night.
Cheers, and you. Bye.
You've been listening to the Menswear Style podcast. Be sure to head over to menswearstyle.co.uk for more menswear content and email info@menswearstyle.co.uk if you would like to be a future guest on the show. Finally, please help support the show by leaving a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Until next time.